Hello, good morning, and thanks Midori for the kind words. Hope everybody here is as excited as I am to be talking about cost optimization on a Thursday morning after some drinks and after a huge event that we're hosting this week, right? Everybody soaked about cost optimization, saving money? Cool. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was preparing for this presentation was, can I just simply go on stage and just hand out money? They obviously canceled me that, but hopefully by the end of the session, I'll give you some even better tips on how to save money and how to better utilize your resources on AWS. Just checking, can everybody hear me on the back? Perfect, nice. Let's move ahead here. So from technical improvements to business transformations, translating that to a better short version, how to be cost effective on AWS. By the end of this presentation, you'll have learned some points about culture tips, financial improvements, financial commitments, technical improvements that you can apply to your workloads, and a quick example about how do you put everything together to transform your business. Just an example with a fictional company that I created. Cool? So let's get started here. This is the $1 million question, no pun intended, that we are trying to answer today. How to be fast-paced, grow your business, and still be cost optimized. Before moving to the next slides, a quick show of hands here. Who is already using AWS? Perfect. How many of you have already have a technical background? Okay, financial background? Perfect. That's a really good balanced audience. Let's get started with the culture tips. If you are not familiar, Amazon has a set of leadership principles. Leadership principles are simply guided mindset or mind definitions that guide our decision-making process on a daily basis. One of the leadership principles that I like the most is frugality. And the way that we define frugality is just there. I won't read all of that. However, I like to focus on the very first part, which is accomplish more with less. Usually you think about frugality only when you're applying to money, when you're just like cost cutting something. However, I always emphasize with the customers, the easiest way of just cut costs is simply shut down your business, which is obviously not a good idea. I don't want you to be just cheap and reduce your costs just for the sake of it. I want you to be smarter about applying your costs, applying your resources, and that's the idea behind frugality. Putting that into practice with AWS specifically, many of you or some of you might have encountered some situation in the past where you're running all your workloads on AWS, and then halfway through the month, you notice, oh, what is this bill here? What is this cost? Where is this coming from? I didn't know we were actually using this service. Many of the startups that are still exploring AWS or they're getting started with AWS, they are not applying awareness. And what I mean about bringing awareness to the team is, first of all, making sure that your team is aware of how the cost is being applied, how your resources are running. If you're not too familiar with AWS, we operate mostly on a pay-as-you-go model. So basically, you're starting with AWS, you're pretty much not paying anything, or you don't pay anything at all. As you are growing your business, as you're growing your workload, you start to pay more. It's really easy to lose track of that if you're not organized, if you're not organizing. So AWS offers different ways of organizing or helping you to organize your bill or organizing your costs in your team. You have cost management. You can create budget alerts. You can create cost definitions and cost alerts per department. So this is the very first culture tip, bringing awareness to your team, making sure your team is aware of how you're spending the money. Now that you know who is spending what, which team is responsible or how your money is being spent, the next step is bringing accountability, which means if I'm the manager of the engineering team, I need to know how much my team is spending on AWS by the end of the month. I need to have at least an estimate of how much that's going to cost the company. Easiest way of applying that putting that into practice is applying tags. Tags are simply key value pairs, super simple to apply, very easy to forget. There is one way of automating that, which is AWS Config. It's one service that we offer, and one of the rules that AWS Config can enforce is the required tags. So what this means here is, if you apply this into your workload, if you apply this to your AWS account, your team will be trying to deploy a new solution or a new test server or anything like that. They will be prevented from running that if you're not matching the required tags. So bingo, just by doing that, you're now enforcing that your team is following the predefined set of tags that you and your organization have defined. All good so far? Next item is, it's really specific to your business. Everybody knows KPI? Perfect. So when you're defining KPIs in your organization, it's really good to have a connection point between what is the cost relationship between AWS and your actual business. Give you an example. Say that I have a retail web store and I have a KPI of daily active users. If I have that correlation to my AWS bill, I can easily have an average cost per daily active user, right? Simple math. If I do that and I put a dashboard in my company or in my company TV, my office TV, or just send reports, a dashboard to everybody on a daily or even on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, everybody can see very frequently and very easily how much the average cost is moving along the month or the week or even the year. If something goes off, it's really easy to say, well, something's off, we're losing customers. Maybe we have to engage with the marketing team. Maybe we have to get more customers. Let's try to bring back the customers that we lost. Or maybe the engineering team just spin up a test environment which is driving the costs up, right? There's nothing wrong with the customer use base. We're just like spending more. As long as the business is aware of that, as long as the business team and the business leadership is aware of what is happening, why it's happening, that's fine, right? What I don't want you to incur is, by the end of the month, you just lose customers or your AWS cost is going up and you have no idea about that. Now, engineering team. How many here are part of the engineering team? Perfect. Really easy to design and test something with AWS. That's one of the things that I love the most about AWS. Super easy to go to the console, start playing around. However, not everybody puts into practice the best idea of shifting left the cost conversation. What I mean about shifting left the cost conversation. We have AWS Pricing Calculator. That is a free tool available for you to use. If you just type calculator.aws, you can just hit that free tool. And with that, you can estimate how much your new feature or your new tool will be costing you. Say that you're designing a new feature for your application and you're designing something, creating a new diagram, you're creating your API gateway, pointing the request to Lambda. How much do you expect to spend if you're accepting 100 customers or 1,000 customers, 1 million customers? Is the cost growing on a linear fashion, or is that going to be exponential? Does it matter if you're using AWS Lambda or EC2 or a container or anything else that non-technical folks here are not aware of? The idea is understand how the cost will impact your new feature on an early stage. Otherwise, you can get surprised. Gustavo, all of that is beautiful. I like that idea, I like that thought. However, there is too much work. I have a startup. We are operating on a lean process. There are so many new things that we have to operate already on a daily basis. I don't have time to go and keep checking all of that. The good news is we have automations for you. There are simple ways of automating and creating controls, creating mechanisms for you to keep an eye on your costs. Keep control of your costs. Enforce those mechanisms on your team. Here you have Trusted Advisor. As you can see here on the very left, you have a list of recommendations for potential monthly savings. Just by clicking on that, you can see a list of cost savings that AWS is actually providing to you. So for instance, this is the way that I read this is AWS is literally telling customers how they can spend more efficiently on AWS. This is beautiful. I don't see many other companies doing that out there. So moving forward now with financial solutions. All of that, all of those were pretty much culture chips. Those are culture mechanisms that you can apply to your team and then modify their mindset in order to encourage the cost savings or cost optimization in your company. Say now that you're ready to take the next step, which is financial solutions. We do have different ways of applying financial improvements in your organization when we're talking about using AWS. The way that I summarized here, just for the interest of time, is talking about reserved instances and savings plans. Do you know if your team is already using reserved instances or savings plans? Raise your hand if you are. I don't see many hands, so that's a really good tip. So both reserved instances and savings plans are a way of saving money on AWS simply by applying a financial commitment. There is no technical change required, simply no technical change at all. You can go to the Cost Explorer in your AWS console, that is free of charge. You can see the list of recommendations that AWS is providing to you, and then you can select one of the reserved instances or the savings plans that we are recommending to you. It's really easy to implement. It can provide up to 72% of cost reduction in your AWS bill. And it's flexible. There is no upfront payment, there is a partial payment, and there is an all upfront payment plan. Which one is best for your company, which one is best for your organization, really depends on your cash flow, depends on how much investment you have, if you have any tax advantages, all of that. By the way, of course, we'll have Q&A in the end, but we are hosting the AWS booth right up there, and we do have Ask the Expert sessions. So if you do have any questions about anything that I'm presenting here today, feel free to ask in the end or ask in the Ask the Expert booth. Right. So technical modifications. What I mean by technical modifications. If you have explored AWS a bit, you have noticed that we have a long list of services. We like to say that they use the right tool for the right job, which means we do have a variety of tools, services, and configurations that will apply to your business, to your particular use case, depending on your specific needs. That is the beauty part of it. The downside of that is it's sometimes hard to understand what is the best solution or what is the best feature that can benefit you and your business. I'll give you an example. Say that you are planning to back up some files on AWS. Is a service to use S3, if you're not familiar, simple storage service, object storage solution that can scale on a petabyte scale. You can just put your files there, set and forget. Easy to store backups, okay? Let's say now that you have 30 terabytes of data to back up on AWS, and you're planning to use S3. How much that would cost? I'll actually run a graph here just to show you a little bit of what I'm thinking here. S3 has different storage tiers. Each tier has its own features, its own functionalities, its own benefits. Which one is best for you? We're happy to clarify that to you. I don't expect you to know everything up front, but here's an idea of how much that will impact your costs. The first tier is S3 standard. That is, the standard tier. You just by uploading a file to S3 bucket, you're going to be using that standard tier. And if you're storing 30 terabytes on S3 standard tier, you're going to be spending almost $700 a month. That is huge. Good enough for some backup scenarios, but that's not good enough to my eyes. Because if you're storing a backup, you're not actually accessing those files very frequently. You're not retrieving those files very frequently, right? So the idea here is you just need to upload the files and retrieve those files when needed, when you need to recover a backup. So you can consider the next tier, which is S3 infrequent access. Just by doing that, you're reducing your bill by 50%, almost 50%. Gustavo, that's amazing. Give me a hug here. This is a very cool reduction, and I didn't change anything critical on my application. I just changed the storage tier for my backup. That is amazing. But I'm still not convinced this is the best solution. Because when we're talking about backups, usually we're talking about long-term retention. We're talking about a file that you set and forget. You're not even infrequently accessing. It's almost never retrieved, right? So that's why Glacier Deep Archive is the best option for this type of workload, for this type of backup. And if you use Deep Archive, you're gonna reduce almost by 95%. I have to rerun the math, but you're going from $700 to $31 a month. That's almost like a Tim Hortons every day, right? Moving forward here, like I said, we like to say that you should use the right tool to the right job. We have a list of different services. You can convert a GP2 volume to a GP3 volume and just save up to 20% just by doing that. You can convert your traditional application from EC2 to a serverless offering with Lambda and then reduce significantly the component cost. And by the way, if you are already using Lambda, you should test that with Graviton processors. Lambda does support Graviton backend, and that can dramatically improve your costs as well. I could be here the whole day and talk endless examples about how to improve, how to give you technical examples on how to apply that specifically to your business. But of course, we have limited time. So if you do have one specific question about a specific service that you're using, come talk to us and then we're happy to help. By the way, I've been talking this to very customers. Not everybody know that, but do you know how much is the hourly fee to customers to use SAs? How much is, if you're a customer and you have an account team and you're talking to an SA, a solutions architect just like me, just like our team there, how much is that? Anybody can guess? $500 a month? I like this here. This gentleman knows, $0. We don't incur any extra charge for you. We are working basically for free for you to help you to optimize your business, okay? You're already paying AWS, you're already paying our hourly as part of the AWS bill. Our job is to optimize your bill for you. Make sense? Good. Cool. Great tips, culture tips, financial commitments, technical improvements. How can I pack everything and actually apply that to my business? I'll give you an example here. So, I just founded my company. That's my company. I name it however I want. And the idea of my company is to ingest, store, and analyze logs for customers. And I chose to use Amazon OpenSearch. If you're not familiar with OpenSearch, just distributed search engine that can be used for log analytics. You can ignore that. Just think about a black box where I can just store the logs and then provide search capabilities to my users, okay? So when I founded my company, I started to charge for 12 months of data retention. But then I later realized that 90% of the data is only retrieved, is only filtered, is only analyzed in the first 60 days. That kind of makes sense because if I'm part of the engineering team, and I'm only checking the latest logs. I'm only checking the latest 2 weeks, perhaps the last month, maybe the last 2 months of log, just to compare, just to analyze, just to detect some anomaly, right? That's good to know. But how actually can I put that into practice and save money? Specifically, a feature of OpenSearch named Index Lifecycle Management can automatically rotate the logs for you. Too technical, I don't want to know about that, Gustavo. Just save me the money. Use that feature to rotate your logs automatically and then apply ultra warm storage. Remember S3 different tiers? Kind of the same idea, but applied to OpenSearch storage. You're just optimizing the storage for that specific purpose. Just by doing that, you're applying an 80% savings, 80% cost reduction in your bill. After I have done that, I actually can consider the financial commitment. Remember the financial commitment? I've applied first the technical modification, the technical improvement, and now I'm going with the financial commitment, which is I'm buying a RI, which is reserved instances, for my data nodes, and that will give me an extra 11% of savings. You do the math. We can play around with the numbers, but that is a significant cost reduction for my customers or to myself. Because that gives me the very last point. What can I do with all of those savings? There are two primary points that I like to talk to my customers, and one of them is simply, well, you can just pocket this net savings, right? I was paying $1,000, now I'm paying $100 a month. I'll just pack that and be richer. I like that idea. Or you can do what AWS does many times. When we find a way of reducing the cost, we actually pass along those cost savings to the customers. And then we publicly reduce the price for our customers. So you can think about that as well, and then reduce your own price for the customers. Create a new price model, or create a new plan, create a new benefit for your customers just with that price reduction. I don't know, up to you. There are many things that you can do when you're reducing your footprint by 90%. All right, so just wrapping up, we covered those main points here today. And then you might be thinking, amazing thoughts. I learned a lot in the last 20 minutes. I don't know how to start. I don't know what exactly is the order. What are the steps that I will apply in order? Usually, I say that the culture is the foundation point. It's very important and pretty much for free that you can implement. You can talk to your team, you can start applying those culture tips that I presented in the beginning and start changing the mindset of your team, making sure that they are the ones coming to you 1 month later and say, hey, I just found out that we are spending on a service that we're actually not using much or something that we can improve. I want your team to be coming to you and not you coming to your team and say, we have to spend less. That sucks. After you apply the culture foundation, you can talk about different orders about applying the other steps. Financial commitment first, and then you apply some savings plan, and then you do some modifications with your technical improvements. Sure, that can go on. Or you can modify your architecture first. You can apply some technical modifications in your workload first, and then when you're comfortable with that, apply the financial commitments. That also works. Any way that you apply that order, any order that you apply those steps, that will work fine for you. There are some restrictions that I just like to say, which are once you buy the financial commitment, once you purchase a reserved instance or savings plan, you are set for that period, either 1 year or 3 years. Savings plans will give you some flexibility. So if you are unsure about your technical modifications that you have to apply, highly recommend you taking a look into savings plans versus reserved instances. If that is still unclear, no worries, just ask me in the end, okay? Good. What we do from here? Lots of different action items to do. One of them is going through this website here, Workshops AWS. This link will give you a cost optimization workshop that is available for free. You can start running that on your account and then play around, understand how you can actually apply some of those tools that I've listed in the beginning. You can visit our booth and of course talk to us. I'm here just for you guys today, so there's nothing much I can do until 5 p.m. You can plan a well-architected review. A well-architected review, in simple terms, is a way of us reviewing your architecture, again, for free, and then listing some optimization points that we identify, both for cost, for scalability, for stability. So all of that, we can help you run and identify the improvement points. The workshops I have already covered, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, sorry, you had a question? Oh, no, sorry. So that was it. Thanks for having me today. If you have any questions, I'll be here.